illustration. This- So the weighted average cost of capital. The best definition for this one, the one that I like, is the minimum return required for the providers of capital, right? The minimum or the average return required for the providers of capital. So, as a business, the two main sources of capital are debt or average return required for the providers of capital. So, who are these providers of capital? The lenders or the creditors who offer you debt, right? They are going to charge you an interest rate for giving you that loan. All right. So we can say that's like the cost of getting the debt, this interest rate. All right. Equity is provided by shareholders and other investors. All right. Equity is ownership. So when these people become owners with the business, they're obviously going to also require a return. All right. Shareholders require dividends. All right. So we can say this is the cost of equity is the required rate of return for these shareholders or these investors. All right. Required rate of return. So all of these are going to be in percentages. So I'll make an illustration for a sole trader, a very small scale illustration. All right. A sole trader, let's say, for example, you want to start a business as a sole trader. All right. You go to some lenders, you say, I want to borrow, let's say, a 10,000. All right. And they tell you, okay, the interest rate that will be charged for borrowing this 10,000 will be 12%. All right. Then let's go. Let's see. Then let's say maybe you go to some angel investors or maybe venture capitalists, people who can put money to your business, and you say, okay, I need another. Maybe let's say I need a 15,000. They give you that 15,000. Then they say, okay, every time you make profits, all right, we require 20% of the profits that you make. All right. Okay. 20% of all the profits that you make. So it's like they own 20% of your company. All right. So now we're talking about the weighted average cost of capital. So both of these sources of capital, they have costs, and the costs we're going to average them. All right. So that we get an average cost. All right. So debt and equity combined together, this is what is called capital employed. This is the money used for making profits within a business. All right. So in this case, you borrowed a 10,000 from the lenders, you got a 15,000 from some investors. All right. So your total financing is going to be 10 plus 15,000, that is 20,000. All right. Now, since this is the weighted average cost of capital, I want to explain the part of the weightages. All right. For the weightages, our total financing is 20,000. So we're going to say out of this 20,000, what percentage is debt? And out of this, or 25,000, out of this 25,000, what percent is debt? And out of this 25,000, what percent is equity? That's the weightages that are going on here. So you will say, since debt is 10,000, you say 10,000 divided by 25,000. These are the weightages multiplied by our cost of debt, which is this 12%, plus equity is 15,000. So it's a 15,000 over 25,000 multiplied by our cost of equity, 20%. This is an oversimplified example. As you will see within the work, there's a certain formula to calculate the cost of debt, and there's a certain formula to calculate the cost of equity. All right. So let's get our weightages. So 10,000 divided by 25,000 times 12%. Okay. So that's zero point 0.4 which we calculated there. That zero point 0.4, what it's telling us that for this entrepreneur, right, his venture is financed by 40% debt. All right. So you said we get what? 4.8 here, right? The 4.8% plus, okay, 15,000 divided by 25,000. Okay, so what that is telling us that 60% of this entrepreneur's venture is financed by equity. Okay, zero point 0.6 times 20%, 12%. So 12% plus 4.8%, 16.8, 16.8%. So for this, what this means is when this entrepreneur, let's say after his first, maybe after his first month, he makes a profit of, let's say, 50,000. All right, this is the profit you make for 50,000. All right, 16.8% of this 15,000 is going to your providers of capital. All right, it's going to the people who gave you a loan and also the people who invested in your company. All right. So what is 16.8% of 50,000? So 8,400. All right. So when you make a 50,000 on average, okay, because this is the, remember, we got the average cost of capital. So if you make a 50,000 on average, 8,400 is going to your providers of capital. All right. The people who gave you the loan, In terms of interest payments, you might have to pay them interest payments. All right. And then the people who invested in your business, all right, who we can also call the shareholders of your business, since they invested in your business, so they are part owners of your business. So a certain amount of money is also going to go to them. All right. Yes. Yes. On average, 12%, and then for the lenders, 4.8%. All right. Originally, how to get our cost of capital, you could have easily just said 12% plus 20% divided by 2. But the problem with that is that sometimes you find one source of capital is more than the other source of capital. So you wouldn't have, that's why you have to weight these things. All right. We weighted the debt. So what percent of our financing is debt, and our equity, what percent of financing or equity, what percent of the financing is equity. All right. And then we got the averages. So here we can say 4.8% is going to the creditors in terms of interest payments. 12% is going to the other shareholders, right? Because remember, with shareholders, once you make a profit, you have to give them their percentage which they expect.